Am I the butthole for getting into a dispute with the daycare staff over my child's nap schedule? Background info: I'm a working parent who values the importance of a consistent sleep schedule for my child. I've always been specific with the daycare staff about my child's nap schedule and needs, and it's important for her health and happiness to have a consistent routine. My child, let's call her Emma, has been attending the same daycare for a few months now. I noticed that her nap schedule was being disrupted and I couldn't figure out why. I suspected the daycare staff were not following my instructions properly. I decided to set up a meeting with the daycare director to discuss my concerns. During the meeting, I found out that the staff were not adhering to Emma's nap schedule and were instead trying to make all the children nap at the same time, regardless of their individual needs. I was furious and expressed my disappointment in the staff's lack of attention to my child's needs. Now, the daycare staff are mad at me and the director thinks I am overreacting. I feel that my child's well-being and development are being compromised and I am not being heard. Now the daycare staff are expecting an apology. Did I go too far here? You're the butthole. Surely you were given information about the nap schedule when you enrolled. Most daycares do not cater to each child's personal nap routine. They do one nap time for all and families have to just accept and adjust to that if they want to stay with that facility. You're the butthole. If you have a very strict nap schedule, then hire a private nanny who will follow it. The daycare staff and all the children they watch are already used to a set schedule. You can't come in and expect everyone to change things around and adapt to a schedule you came up with for your child. Lamau. I can't believe this is real. Why in the world would you think a daycare would do that? Wait, today I learned you find out that they make everyone eat lunch at the same time in school too. You're the butthole. You're the butthole. Your child is going to be on the same schedule as everyone else at the daycare. If you want a nanny who will adhere to your wants, shell out the cash for a nanny, and pay them a proper wage. Otherwise apologize and deal with it. Your child's future isn't going to be ruined because of a different nap schedule. As long as they get the proper amount of sleep, they'll be fine. Am I the butthole for walking out of a restaurant on my GF? GF and I were having dinner at a restaurant when she got a text from her best friend, who recently gave birth, and she said she got a C-section. She works as a nurse, so she then explained to me the type of incision they make for that and how it'll leave a scar. I then, as a joke, said at least she'll still be tight down there. My GF looked confused and then said that was a weird comment to make about her friend. I then said it is a very normal joke to make and she disagreed. TLDR, there was some back and forth. I asked her to drop it and she kept trying to talk about it. I said to her, "You're so insecure," and she then goes, "Does it make you feel good to call me that?" So then I got really frustrated, got up, and walked out of the restaurant and drove home. She called me several times, I drove both of us there, but I was so frustrated and just wanted to get home, so I turned my phone off. She showed up at our apartment 30 minutes later and was really pissed, called me an butthole and overreacted, and that she waited in the cold for 20 minutes for an Uber. Am I the butthole for walking out on her and leaving her there for being frustrated? You're the butthole for the completely unnecessary sexist comment about her friend's vagina and for your lack of understanding about basic biology. Bonus points calling your girlfriend insecure, having a toddler tantrum and storming off. You're the butthole. A huge misogynistic gross one at that. With a predilection to baby tantrums. I hope your GF dumps you. You made a crapty comment. Got called out on it. Then decided you didn't want to face up to your weird comment and left. You stranded your GF because she wouldn't let you make a crap comment about her friend's vagina. A comment, BTW, that is entirely inaccurate and not funny in the slightest. P.S. Why would she be insecure about a sexist comment you made about her friend's vagina? You're the butthole for the joke. You're the butthole for thinking it's a normal thing to say. You're the butthole for calling your GF insecure. You're the butthole for getting frustrated and storming off. You're the butthole for leaving your GF without a ride. You're the butthole for turning your phone off, and you're the butthole for posting here and making me read your bullcrap. You're the butthole. Don't talk about other people's private parts. Your girlfriend was obviously concerned for her friend, and you go making a joke about at least she'll stay tight? And then you didn't understand why she was upset, and you left her there? Men like you are the reason women have been getting the very painful and unnecessary husband stitch. Try being less of a misogynist. I hope she dumps you. Am I the butthole for not letting my pregnant daughter move in with me? My daughter is 23, I'm dad BTW. A few years ago my wife, not her mom, took her to get a birth control implant, and she was always happy on it. Fast forward about a year and she meets a guy, he's 28, online, and falls in love. He lives in another state. She quickly started talking about how they both want to get married and both want kid. About 3 months before her trip to meet him in person, she told me she had gotten her implant out and switched to the pill because she didn't like the implant anymore. This kind of raised my eyebrow. She had always talked about loving the implant because she no longer had periods. So I talked to her, we go over how important it is to take the pill properly every day, and we talk about other BC options she has set in the pill. I also went over the cost of children and the amount of work and responsibility babies are with her. Part of my concern here is that her mother openly admits she stopped taking her pills and intentionally got pregnant so I would marry her. I did, and we are divorced now. I also told her that I love my kids and raising them, but I had no interest in raising theirs. I am enjoying retirement. I have a 10 and an 8-year with my wife. Well, lo and behold, she gets pregnant on her trip. BF is not financially stable and is in another state, and due to morning sickness she has been missing a lot of work. She is intent on keeping the baby. She called last night and asked if she and her BF could come live with me so he could move here and find a job. He doesn't have any significant work history or education, and is morbidly obese, which cause him a lot of health problems, so currently he is on disability, and they would save up money and be out before the baby is born. Also note her mom does not have room at her house. I said no. My daughter has a history of not following through on her commitments, and I know that she won't actually move out before she has the baby, and probably not for a long while after. She has trouble taking responsibility for herself, and I am guessing we will be the ones dealing with the baby mostly. We currently have a cat she adopted and then didn't want because she wouldn't clean its box, so it went to the bathroom everywhere. On top of that, I don't want this man that I don't know and she barely knows in my home with my small children. So now he is flying up so they can find a place together. She currently rents a room in a party house. I told her I would help her with the deposit and first MLNTHS rent, but if they wanted to play house I wasn't going to fund it, so don't expect me to pay when they can't. Now she is upset with me. Her mom has chewed me up one side and down the other for not supporting her. Am I the butthole? Not the butthole. I think offering deposit and first month rent is a generous compromise. Not the butthole. It seems she planned this pregnancy and is now seeing the reality of her situation. I think you're correct. If you let them move in, they'll never move out. I will caution you though, if she moves close to you, be prepared to be expected to be the free childcare. Her boyfriend will most likely not work because then he won't qualify for disability, but I doubt he will be taking care of the bae either. Greater than now she is upset with me. Her mom has chewed me up one side and down the other for not supporting her. For you not letting her take advantage of you. You know exactly how it will turn out if you let her stay with you. Her mom can support her since she's so concerned. Not the butthole. Am I the butthole for not driving my wife to our son's wedding since I'm not invited? My son had his wedding days ago. We had some past issues that affected our relationship. No, we're not on speaking terms after he decided to sell his grandmother's home, my wife's mother, instead of keeping it. He sent his mom an invitation but didn't include me. I was fine with that. Didn't try to fight back or anything. But however, I refused to drive my wife to the wedding. She's disabled and cannot drive and we live 3 hours away. I said that since I'm not invited to the wedding, nor am I taking part in it, then I shouldn't have to drive there. My wife told me I was being unreasonable and thought I was punishing her for our son's decision, but I told her it was on her to make travel arrangements since she's an adult. Or, he could have provided proper means of transportation for her and not assume I'd go there when I'm not welcome. We had an argument and she ended up being taken there by my brother. She refused to speak to me upon her return and my brother said I was in the wrong for letting her fend for herself when me and my car were available. I have so many questions. 1. If it was your wife's mother and not yours, why were you so upset about your son, who inherited it I suppose? Selling it? 2. What did you do? There is something you are not telling us. What did you do to upset your son so much? Or is he so petty that he didn't invite you just because you said I think you shouldn't sell the house? You're the butthole. She's right, you were punishing her because of your son's decision. If she hadn't been able to find an alternative ride, then she would have been trapped at home and unable to go. You would have forced her to miss something really important because your feelings are hurt and your ego is bruised. Forget the drama with your son, this puts you in the bad husband category. Info: when did you tell her you weren't taking her to the wedding? If you usually are her sole mode of transport and she had no reason to expect you wouldn't take her to the wedding, you would be the butthole. Am I the butthole for letting my daughter and her husband move in with me so they won't be homeless? This situation is complicated and I'm at my wit's end. I have 2 daughters who are civil to each other but don't get along with each other. My eldest is married to Steve while my youngest is engaged to Adam. Steve and Adam are so different they disliked each other the first time they met. Steve works part-time because he treasures family time with my daughter. They spend their time traveling and exploring different parts of the States. He spends freely because he often say he can't take his money with him when he dies. Adam is an executive and for his side business, he owns several dozen properties. He works about 80 hours a week at both jobs because his philosophy is that he wants to make as much money as possible while he's young so that he can retire early. Steve thinks Adam is a corporate shill and basically blames him for everything that's wrong with society. Steve said that Adam is actively keeping people from buying homes and making them dependent on him. Adam thinks Steve is a slacker and have told Steve people like him who does the bare minimum but expects handouts are what's wrong with society. Neither of them are bad and they treat my daughters well. I retired last year due to my health, so Adam built a house for me so that I can live comfortably. I was able to customize everything in the house to fit my taste. Adam owns the house, pays for all of the utilities, and charges me $1 a month for rent. Part of our deal is that no one else can live in the house but me. He was very clear about this. Steve recently lost his job, so he and my eldest are living off of her single income. As you can imagine, they are struggling. My eldest recently called me crying because their savings are almost gone and they can't make next month's rent. She asked if she and Steve could move in with me until he finds another job. I live on a fixed income, so I don't have money to set them up in another apartment. She's my daughter and I couldn't let her be homeless, so I let Steve and her move in. I gave them strict rules and a time limit on when they had to move out. I didn't think my youngest and Adam would find out because they live in another state, but somehow she found out. She called and screamed at me last night for betraying Adam's trust, but I argued that I'm a mother to 2 daughters and I can't let one be homeless. I told her about the rules and time limit and begged her not to tell Adam. She hung up on me, so I don't know what's going to happen. I know I went back on an agreement, but I had a good reason. Edit. I couldn't add many details in my original post because I was afraid of going over the character limits. Adam pays the taxes and utilities on this house, but because it's the only house he has in this state, he keeps its financials separate from the rest of his properties. Also, he doesn't really have anything to do with the house. Instead, he gave it over to my youngest to take care of, so she handles all of the bills and maintenance and pays them out of an account he set up. She noticed the increased utility cost, which is when she called. We just spoke again and I laid my soul bare to her. I knew I was going back on our agreement, but it was to keep her sister from being homeless. We had a lengthy conversation and in the end, she agreed not to tell Adam. She'll cover the increased utility cost out of her own pocket so he won't notice it. In exchange, her sister and Steve will have 3 months, then we'll have to move out. I originally told them they had 6 months. I'm lucky to have such a compassionate daughter. Thank you for taking the time to read my post. Some of the comments were very hurtful, but some were helpful. You made me realize I should have called my youngest at the start and asked. That would have saved a lot of tears. You're the butthole. I'm sorry, but Adam is doing you a favor by letting you live in this house, and he gave you one rule so he's not taken advantage of, and not only did you break this rule, but you did so by allowing the person who insults Adam to live there. Your daughter and her husband want to live by the values they have, fair enough, but they need to be able to have money to back that up. If by Steve losing his part-time job they are in this much trouble, then they didn't have the money to spend freely and go traveling to begin with. Yeah, you have 2 daughters, but at the end of the day the person who owns this house has no obligation to house your adult daughter and her husband, and honestly so if you lose your home because of this, then you only have yourself to blame. You're the butthole. You went back on an agreement that you made. Why didn't you call your youngest and tell her the situation instead of going behind their back? Am I the butthole for attempting to disinvite my fiance's best man from our wedding after finding out that he's in love with him? I, 27 female, am getting married to my fiance, 28 male, in 2 months. He has a childhood best friend, 28 male, who's gonna be his best man. Needless to say, they're very close to each other. Recently my fiance told me how a couple of years ago his best friend got drunk and confessed his love to him. My fiance was taken aback cause he only ever dated, and I think still dates, women. And according to my fiance, he just ignored his confession afterwards and they never talk about it in order to not make their friendship awkward. To this my fiance isn't sure if his best friend even remembers that confession. I obviously got very uneasy hearing this, especially cause they never talk it out, so he could very well still be in love with him. I think his best friend is still single ATM or not in a serious relationship at least. My fiance said that there's no reason to worry cause he never brought up his feelings again, which may have not even have been serious to begin with, but considering they've been best friends since middle school I seriously doubt it. I honestly feared his best man might try to ruin my wedding out of jealousy, so I sent him a private message requesting him to withdraw his position as my fiance's best man and not come to our wedding if possible, as his presence made me uncomfortable. Well, my fiance found out about it and now he's furious with me. He told me I was incredibly outline for trying to disinvite his best man and friend of almost 2 decades behind his back, but I told him that I only did it cause I don't someone who was in love with him and probably still is to be at our wedding and potentially sabotage. We went back and forth on this till I told him that he has to choose between me and his best friend, but he told me that I'm incredibly childish when it's too early to already be acting like a bridezilla, and then left to his mother's place and 2 days later still haven't come back or tried to contact me. Am I the butthole? You're the butthole. Exactly. How did you jump to the conclusion that he would sabotage the wedding? You could have talked to your fiancé about your underlying insecurities instead of trying to remove his best friend from the ceremony with no real basis. You're the butthole. Might as well call it off now because you violated your would-be husband's trust. He'll never tell you something in confidence again, and he's correct to feel that way. You're the butthole. Did you really not think the first person he'd talk to about your message would be your fiancé? His best friend of 20 years? You way overstepped and may have sabotaged your own wedding. Am I the butthole for telling my wife she was causing a scene and not defending her with my mom? I, 42, have a stepdaughter Liz, 17, from my wife Kate, 42, first marriage. Me and Kate also have a daughter Emma, 3, together. Liz doesn't call me dad and usually refers to me as Mr. my last name. I'll be honest that this bothered me a little, but this is what Liz feels comfortable with, so I never pushed it. We're not close, but we have a good relationship overall, and she loves Emma. We weren't able to get together with my side of the family over Christmas, so my family had a late Christmas/New Year's gathering where my mom gave her Christmas gifts for the grandkids. She got Emma some toys and Liz a sketch pad. She's an artist, so it's not a random gift. Liz and Kate were disappointed, and Kate pulled my mom aside later, I was around, to say she shouldn't have given the gifts out in front of everyone, and Liz is hurt. Basically, my mom ended up replying she went out of her way to get Liz a gift as a grandma, when Liz doesn't even consider me any kind of father figure. If they, Liz and Kate, have such an issue with the gifts, they can go ask Liz's real father for a gift. Kate caused a bit of a scene and didn't take that comment well, and said my mom has no respect for them. I tried to calm it down, and I did tell mom she was being a little harsh. I also told Kate she was causing a scene and blowing this up for no reason, and she was the one nitpicking about gifts, and mom just responded to her. Kate later got angry with me for saying that and said I should have defended her. It's been a couple of weeks and she's still a little upset with me. I don't think I'm really in the wrong here, and most of my family agree. My brother said I should post on here if this is still causing issues, so am I the butthole? Edited for people asking. Liz's sketch pad was significantly less expensive than the toys and things the other kids got, but it is something she'd use and not a random item. Based off the additional OP comments, yeah, you're the butthole, and so is your mother. Liz is 17, and was given a cheap sketch pad that probably isn't even the grade/value she normally uses, whereas everyone else had meaningful, thoughtful gifts. Your mother needs to keep out of your family dynamic with that ask your real father bullcrap. Obviously there's a reason Liz doesn't. And you can't expect someone you've known for a handful of years to call you dad just because you're with their mother. It sounds like both you and your mom hold resentment against a young adult that is literally just being polite. Edit, hold up, her father quite literally isn't in the picture because Hess dead and your mother still made that remark? And all you said was that's harsh? Doubling down on my answer now, WTF. You're the butthole. This is why I always try and comment after I've seen a few comments from OP. I would have gone NTAESH route at first. All the toys and things together were worth around $100. I'll admit Liz's sketch pad wasn't nearly as much, more dollar store type, so yes, I do understand them feeling upset and having the gifts given out in front of everyone. Kate went off at mom because she said she shouldn't have given gifts out in front of everyone and Liz was hurt, and then mom made the comment that Liz should go ask her real dad for a better gift. So Liz's gift was significantly less/cheaper than the other people's gifts. Even going off the post, it seems OP's wife was upset that Liz got the gift in front of everyone, not the actual gift itself. I think this is valid. She watches everyone else get a bunch of cool items, while she gets a dollar store sketch pad. But OP's mom's comment about the real father is what seals the odd judgment. OP's comments below. My mom doesn't really like that Liz doesn't call me dad, and she has said before that Liz is welcome to go ask her real father for anything instead of me. Kate got really mad because my mom made that comment, but I think she was overreacting. I didn't think it was okay, Mom's made the comment about asking Liz's father for things she wants before, and I told her it's harsh, considering he's passed away. I just thought Kate was blowing it up and nitpicking about gifts. OP's mom has made the comment before about asking her biological dad for things. Liz's biological dad is dead. I'm 100% sure OP's mom knows this. She, on purpose, tells a teenager that she should ask her dad for gifts, knowing her dad is dead. This is horrific, OP. Seriously. You are 100% the A for not defending your wife in this instance, even with the gift issue and a million times more knowing about her dead father. Do better, please. Most of my family agree. I think I found your problem. You involve others in your marriage. You're the butthole. Your mom shouldn't feel involved enough to try to defend you by making your stepdaughter see things your way. Am I the butthole for telling a coworker to get her crapty dog out of my cube after she called me a weirdo? Yesterday afternoon a coworker brought her, 35 female, new dog to the office to show it off to everyone. She made the rounds going to everyone's cube and office. Seemed like everyone was excited to meet it and pet it and all that. To preface the situation with this coworker, I, 28 male, can't stand dogs. There is just about nothing about them I like. I find them obnoxious and gross, and people take them places far too much. I don't understand why you need your dog to run errands or to go out to eat, especially when odds are the place is not dog friendly. My opinion about dogs, I usually keep to myself and quietly remove myself from situations. She gets to my cube, and says, "Hey, this is my new dog, I named him Fido." I just say cool and continue working. Well, my lack of enthusiasm at having a dog in my space was not apparent to her. She asks me to pet him, citing trying to socialize him. I say no, I'd rather not do that. I'm sure someone else will pet him. It's clear that me refusing baffles her. She asks if I don't like dogs and I respond with I'm not the biggest fan. She says only weirdos don't like dogs. I respond with loudly, "Okay, get your crafty dog out of my cube now." She leaves but calls me in butthole as she moves on. She's now going around telling the whole office about our interaction. So was I the butthole? Not the butthole. I like dogs and have one myself, but I don't understand why some dog people can't fathom that not everyone likes them. Even if you love them, you have to admit they can be smelly, obnoxious, and even occasionally dangerous. You did what was required of you for politeness, and she is an A for demanding that everyone not only tolerate, but love her dog. Not the butthole. Go straight to HR. Tell them that she was in your cubicle, bothering you with her dog, did not leave, and insulted you when you refused to stop your work and pet her dog. And that now she's causing problems and creating a hostile work area. As soon as you said you don't like dogs, the response should have been, "Sorry, I didn't know. I'll keep him away from you." Not weirdo. You are going to get plenty of NTA responses from the I for an I crowd, but the correct judgment is everybody sucks here. She was worse, but the proper response would be something like calling me weird is offensive and hurtful. Please leave me alone. Not the butthole. She asked you to pet him, you said no. She pressed further and you answered. That should have been the end of it. She needs to respect others' boundaries.